Elon Musk live from Tesla headquarters. Okay, Elon Musk confirms Tesla plan for robotaxis. Ah yes, the infamous robotaxis on Austin roads in June. This is interesting, right? Because for the past almost year, we've heard nothing but news about Elon Musk when he was in front of the cameras. It was because of politics. It was because of Trump, because of his meddling in the government. And then something curious happened. He lost a shit ton of money. He lost like hundreds of billions of dollars. And Tesla lost billions of dollars. And the stock price plummeted. And now we see Elon Musk back giving his bread and butter interviews and fake promises for the future so he can rile up some cash from investors. And what is this future Star Trek like coat that he's wearing? He's such a futurist. Gosh, you know that man's a genius by look at this coat that he's wearing. It's literally from the future. So therefore, obviously he's a visionary.
Because here we're in the lobby of the
dude?
Gigafactory here in Austin. Last time I was here was your annual meeting a couple of years ago. So thank you for having us back.
Welcome back.
You got a Robotaxi right behind you.
We do?
Yeah, yeah, you can see it right there. And obviously you've been there with the Transportation Secretary.
Yeah.
Are you going to have full autonomous on the roads of Austin by the end of June?
Yes.
You are.
Okay, new prediction alert. Well, look at look at how he freeze frame. He always looks like Lex Luthor or some dark Sith Lord as he's making these predictions. He's just like, yeah, yep, and then he looks so piercingly at the interviewer.
We have cars driving 24/7 with drivers in the cars, and we see essentially no intervention. So, we want to be very careful with the first.
He doesn't seem too confident about anything. He's like, they're all liars, man. It's so easy to see now, you know? They're so full of shit. Their same old grift is getting tiresome. Basically no problems. Don't worry about nothing. Yeah, we got it. Really? Mm-hmm, yep. Yeah, because we basically have cars that are driving 24/7 with drivers in them. So therefore, we're just gonna take the drivers out and then voila.
Introduction of unsupervised full self-driving, meaning that the car's driving around with no one in it. So we're going to
no one behind a driver's.
Well, yes, and sometimes
yes, there are people behind the wheel, of course, yes, but that's besides the point.
no one in it at all.
Right.
Just going to pick someone up. So the car obviously has to be incredibly safe. So we're just being, we have.
Why do we need, like, why of all things, you know, to bring out in this world, why do we need robots driving our cars? I thought the whole point of getting a car was to drive it. Why would I want a robot? Like, I don't know about you, I wouldn't buy a robot car or take a robot taxi. I've seen one too many Black Mirrors. I know how this ends. The car permanently locks, it puts the child locks on, and then it just speeds up and then heads off a cliff and I die in it. That's how that always happens. So I'm not getting in no taxi with no robot at the wheel, all right? That's what I'm saying. The dream was you get in, you take a nap, and you wake up in a new destination. But we couldn't do that with the train. The technology just isn't there. Exactly. You're basically, it's like now they're what, individual car-sized trains? I hate cars to begin with. I don't own a car. I haven't owned I mean, people had to give me a car for me to own a car because I would never buy a car. Yeah, I'm not deriding anybody that wants to, you know, likes driving cars. I mean, sure. I'm just saying I think the fact that our entire infrastructure is devoted to cars and not people is another, I was going to say injustice in capitalism, but I know people would think I'm being too victimizing or whatever, but I mean, it's not a conspiracy. This was collusion on the part of Firestone. Probably it was like Ford and Firestone. They conspired to defund the public transportation system in American cities, make public transit unviable with no infrastructure, and then basically force people to buy cars. And God, I hate that. And just, you know, like the commenter was saying, how much more efficient it would be if we just took trains. You know, we had reliable transit systems. We actually put money into public infrastructure instead of privatizing everything. Cars are fine to fill in the gaps, but yeah, I feel like 99% goes to car infrastructure, right? Even in places where no cars were ever intended to be, like in the French Quarter, for example. Pubs keep canceling it. Canceling what? Public subsidies to public infrastructure. I never like singling out one half of the duopoly and saying it's their fault. I think it's the corporate duopoly, which Democrats and Republicans both serve the same team. The same team, it's just offense and defense for the same team. They have different tactics, different strategies, different roles that they play in the spectacle that is our mainstream politics here in the United States, but it's clear that they both work for the same people. All right, let's keep going.
Thousands of cars that are being tested, which is creating some...
I think inside he's hitting the panic button, you know? I think that's what this is. He's seen his stock plummet. He's seen angry shareholder calls, you know? He's had to do a lot of justifying all of his time away. And, you know, let's be honest, Elon's venture into government was a big-time failure. If we're judging by how the capitalists judge what is a success and what is a failure, you have to recognize that you can't just have one side of the coin and not the other. I mean, he is the stock, you know? He is the face of the company. He's the reason that Tesla is, well, I think is all hype, but he's, you know, he's been a very good hype man for raising capital around ideas that he's invested in. You could say that. And, you know, when he does, so he's very much dependent on his statements, his actions, the way he carries himself, you know, whether or not, you know, Tesla is gonna have a high stock shareholder price. So when shit goes south, when he does something that's really unlikable, like, I don't know, maybe give the Sieg Heil salute at a presidential inauguration, which, oh, by the way, most of the people that buy Tesla products and cars are woke liberals who hate Trump. So you're trying to appease the people that don't buy your cars. Doesn't sound like a sound business move, but again, he's obviously a free speech absolutist, and he's hell-bent on saving America, right, from ourselves and making sure that we live in a democracy and not a bureaucracy. But no, he's cost his company so much money, and this seems like a desperate sales pitch at this point. Totally staged, just like the infomercial on the White House lawn when Trump endorsed Tesla in a perfect marriage of state and corporation. Fascism. But anyway, he had to quiet quit government work. That's a good way of putting it, Ragsy. It's exactly what happened. And, you know, it's just funny that now we see new content from Elon. And where is he? Well, he's positioned behind, you know, a bunch of his Tesla cars and not in some Oval Office or something doing these weird things as he's trying to talk to reporters about cutting government spending and why we need a democracy and not a bureaucracy. It's just telling is all I'm saying. It's like, it's obvious that it didn't work out, and he's trying to save his company now because he's done a lot of political damage and a lot of damage to the capital that he has accrued.
I'm saying strange situations where we just drive. There's just a bizarre number of Teslas driving past people's houses. They're like, what's going on?
I think we even saw one last night coming from the airport. Yeah, driving at night alone.
So just,
it looked very lonely.
It's just, they look a little lonely.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's looking good for Austin next month.
Yeah, you know, some estimates have been that you're only going to have 10 to 12 of them on the road initially. I mean, it's going to be a very small amount. Is that correct?
Not sure if you knew that, but China's government and Elon have Sony strong connections. Are you saying that China is not a perfect socialist state and it has elements of capitalism and private industry in its country as it's trying to surmount and surpass a world dominated by imperial capitalism? Does it not? Is it supposed to just grow like in a utopian garden where it's completely divorced from the material world and has to live by its own edict? And, you know, especially in a world dominated by one country. I mean, be real for 1 second in your life, Sushi Gang. You're expecting moral purity and communist socialist purity in a world dominated by imperial capitalism, which you have one unipolar hegemon that controls the world finance system. I mean, damn, I thought China was perfect, right? Yeah. We're over here saying, you know, society could be a little bit better, you know. Look at China. China's showing us the way to, like, really, you know, escape and overcome and overthrow capitalism ultimately. And you're like, yeah, but they still have elements of capitalism though. But like, look, they're not perfect. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, when you throw ideals up to the material world, don't be shocked when the material world falls short of those ideals. That's literally how the world works. And we are materialists, and you're not making a point. You're actually only proving our point for us, which is to say that socialism is a historical development that emerges out of capitalism. It comes from capitalism, and there could be no other way. It's not just going to, you know, grow by itself in pure form. Okay, and they're quiet. See, most of what you say makes sense to me, and you sound level-headed, but the right-wingers will clarify you as a crazy liberal nut. Well, I think that I share their disdain for the people that I would consider crazy liberals. You know, I detest liberalism. I think liberalism is moral decay. You know, it's capitalism in decay. Liberalism is the enabler of fascism. Liberalism will always side with capitalism. It's the gatekeepers to capitalism. That's evidence of the Overton window. You know, we've got a mainstream political establishment with a corporate-owned, agenda-setting media that produces this slop that equates Marxism, communism, socialism, real leftist working class values, principles, beliefs, and ideologies with the Biden administration or AOC or Bernie Sanders. So yeah, when you live in a world where that's what they tell you, you know, everywhere you look, you think, okay, liberal, left, Democrat, Marxist, Joe Biden. Okay, got it. You know, sometimes on the right, there's like a strain of anti-capitalism there too. But I don't think that I think that they scapegoat the Jews or something. So it's not really a serious critique. It's offense and defense for the same team. I don't know how else to put it. It's the ratchet effect. You know, the offense scores touchdowns. The defense defends the gains made by the offense. That's what I'm trying to say. They are like anarcho-capitalists, but still want the government to be very strong in terms of military, but want to give corporations control. Well, they basically want the corporations to control the military, which in essence, that's already been happening, you know? That's happened famously in 1954. I'll keep reminding you that Guatemala was invaded by the U.S. military, funded by the United Fruit Company. Okay? The United Fruit Company hired the U.S. military to seize agricultural land in Guatemala in 1954, and they went to war to seize this land from the Guatemalan farmers, because they were trying to appropriate their land to make food for their people. And we said, no, you must make bananas. You are a cash crop for the corporate plantation of America. And if you don't make bananas, we're gonna bomb your country, okay? Give United Fruit Company the keys to your land, or else we're gonna have a problem, okay? And Guatemala was like, Russia? Or like, we're gonna ask the Soviet Union for some weapons, because you're starting to scare us. And then the United States said, Russia? Oh my God, Russia?
First week, how do you see it ramping up?
Well, we'll have to see how well it does, but...
Not very well.
You know, I think it's prudent for us to start with a small number, confirm that things are going well, and then scale it up proportionate to how well we see it's doing.
Right, and what's going to be a judge of how well it's doing?
But we want to deliberately take it slow. I mean, we could start with 1,000 or 10,000 on day one, but I don't think that would be prudent. So we'll start with probably 10 for a week, then increase it to 20, 30, 40.
Thank you, Cherry.
And I think by, say, we'll probably be
here he goes.
1,000 within a few months.
Here comes. You can always tell the lie. He's like, let me pull this number out of my right now. Say like 1,000. What did he say? What was the prediction?
I think by, say, we'll probably be at 1,000 within a few months for a week, then increase it to 20, 30, 40. And I think by, say, we'll probably be at 1,000 within a few months. And then we'll expand to other cities. So expand to San Francisco, California,
sure,
Los Angeles,
is that
San Antonio.
a real possibility?
Los Angeles.